Chapter 38, Justification. My eyes widened in response to Euron's question. Bile rose in the back of my throat as I processed it. You did all of this. You killed millions, ruined countless lives, all because I betrayed you and our brothers? Euron's grin faltered for a moment, his blue-tinged lips puckering in confusion. What? You think that's why I did all of this? What other reason could you have? I screeched with fury. You haven't realized it, have you? Euron threw his head back and laughed maniacally, the sound disturbing all who heard it. He cackled and doubled over in amusement for a minute, before he settled down enough to smile at me. You really do just accept the reality that's presented to you, don't you? The only reality I see is that I can end this right now, I growled and pointed at the Night King. I can destroy your puppets in a single blow and send your army crumbling to dust. So do it! Euron belted, his grin wide and his expression manic. He genuinely didn't seem to care what happened. Do it, and be hailed as the hero queen who defeated Euron Greyjoy and his army of the dead. Why even hesitate? I reached out with my magic, feeling the power that linked the Night King's will to the rest of the dead. I nearly severed it on the spot before I realized that Euron was also linked to the Night King. I looked at him completely befuddled, my voice coming out in a whisper. You're under the Night King's influence as well. But how? You're the one controlling him and the rest of the dead. What? Don't you remember me doing this before? Euron asked with ever-growing anxiousness. It was as if he was leading me down a single line of thought that he was eagerly awaiting for me to comprehend. I searched his expression for meaning. Euron had never done anything like this, not even remotely close. Oh, this is precious, Euron cackled and stepped forward, causing many around me to step back out of fear and paranoia. For all your tactics, planning, and political maneuvering, you just can't see the things right in front of your face. Think, damn it! Euron shouted. You've only ever encountered one person who has managed to take control of hordes of monstrous enemies. And there's only been one person who has stabbed you in the back, nearly resulting in your demise. You told me, don't you remember? Next time, just trust you, before you turned me to dust. My breath hitched in my throat as I stared up at Euron, my voice coming out in a whisper of disbelief. 7? His grin grew wider. Look at you. It only took you over 30 years and me essentially telling you the trust to see if for yourself. Now do you see? I don't care that you killed Balon and Victarion. I don't care that you slaughtered some of the strongest of the Ironborn. I don't care that you had father banished to the wall. He leaned down and scowled at me, his anger evident. I did as you said and trusted you for over 30 years. And what did you do? You betrayed me and tried to kill me when I had done nothing but support and protect you from our brother's machinations. Euron was 7. He had been here since the moment I was born. He had held me only moments after that. His response to my answer when he asked me how I could speak made so much more sense. He hadn't believed me. He knew the truth. He knew that I was lying when I said that the drowned god had given me the ability to speak. He knew who I was the moment he saw me. He knew, and he could have killed me then and there by smashing me against a wall or simply stabbing me. But he hadn't. In fact, it had been just as he'd said. He had helped to take care of me. He helped raise me, always kept a close eye on me, and put himself between myself and Bloodraven. He'd spent 3 decades caring for and befriending me. He'd never once moved against me or worked against my goals. He'd trusted me to keep to my word. He had given me a chance. My mouth tightened as I looked up at him priggishly. You only have yourself to blame. You should have told me the truth the first chance you got. And risk you killing me on the spot? 7 laughed. You had 30 years to tell me, I screamed and pointed up at him. After 10, you should have felt safe enough to confide in me. Perhaps, Seven shrugged, but the truth you can't deny is that you use people like tools. You used me, our brothers, the Ironborn, and even the gods to manipulate the world to get what you want. You could care less about anyone here. You just want power and the ability to wield it over others. I've killed millions because the only way you could see to achieve that power in this world was to sacrifice me and thousands of others to get what you want. I shook my head. You're wrong. If you think for a moment that I would have chosen this path if there had been another way, you're so damn self-righteous, Seven spat. You could have aided Rhaegar to depose the Mad King. You could have written the Starks and warned them of the prince's intentions towards Lyanna. You could have turned the tide of opinion on the Iron Islands to gain enough favor to be named heir. Then fought Victarion and Balan after they tried to usurp you, as I'm sure we both know they would have. Seven squatted down in front of me. You had more options than anyone, and you chose betrayal, manipulation, and lies. It got you what you wanted, but at the cost of the 7 kingdoms, I crossed my arms. You may be right about methods, but you're wrong about the cost. You're controlling the Night King through the power he has over the dead. But that means you are connected by that link. You allowed him to take you, and bet that your willpower was enough to keep your mind. In Thedas, he had been born as a darkspawn. His willpower was strong enough to not only keep his own mind, but to also openly defy the direct will of the Archdemon. Then, once I had defeated the Archdemon, he imposed his will on the remaining darkspawn. With that, and some powerful artifacts, he'd taken control of the Architect's soul and power, enough power that he had been able to manipulate Tevinter and conduct an attack on Orzammar and battle me. If I hadn't pulled him into the Fade and allowed myself to express the true extent of my power at the time, he might have been able to defeat me. His willpower was impressive, astonishingly so. So much so that he'd likely given himself freely to the Night King, with full confidence that he could use the power that linked the Night King to his minions would be enough to control the Night King instead. And he'd been right, but that link meant that if the Night King was destroyed, he would be as well. His link was different from other dead, however. Many of the dead looked just as alive as he did, and their link wasn't the same as his. It was still magical in nature, but it didn't require the person to be dead. This meant that these people were under Euron's control, not the Night King's. They were frozen in the initial moments of death. Their souls were still linked to their bodies. It would take a considerable amount of focus and magic, but they were still able to be saved. You're no better, I snarled. You could have chosen to stand with me by telling me the truth. I would have been cautious, but I would have been grateful to not have to be at odds with you. We could have finally buried this grudge like I've wanted to do since we first met. We were digging into our past lives in front of hundreds of thousands of people, but it didn't seem to matter. We were beings who would jump from one universe to another. Our issues went beyond a single lifetime or any particular audience. You're right, Seven nodded and shrugged as if the point were moot. But I don't pretend otherwise. Once you betrayed my trust, I wasn't going to give you the chance to kill me again. And yet here we are again, I said as I stepped forward, reaching forward to wrap my finger around the magical link to the Night King that only I could see. And yet, here we are again? Seven echoed, his expression telling me he understood what I was about to do. I'll say this one more time, I sighed as I met his gaze. Next time, just trust me. And if you find me first, tell me who you are. I don't want to keep being at odds with you. Seven's eyes were drawn to the magical link as I allowed a soft amount of light to emit from it. I'll try to keep that in mind. Then, Euron Greyjoy, I replied with conviction. I, Merida of House Oradum, first of her name, Queen of the Andals and the First Men, Lady of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm, sentence you to die for the crimes of murder, treason, and villainy. Have you any last words? He turned his gaze back to me and offered a smirk. All hail Queen Oradum, Slayer of Monsters. I gave a snort in response to his mockery, then plucked the string that connected him to the Night King. Seven's eyes widened for just a moment. His body stiffened as the last life-sustaining magic flickered out before he crumpled dead to the ground. Before the Night King could regain his mind after Euron's control was severed, I released a fireball that incinerated the Night King and many of the White Walkers around him. As the Night King fell, the remains of the army of the dead began to fall away without the Night King to sustain them. As the tether to the dead faltered, I wove a spell to encompass the most recently turned victims. Keeping souls bound to their bodies was not an easy thing. The last time I had done it was in Thedas after the attack on Orzammar by Seven. My ability to weave magic was unparalleled, but keeping a soul bound to its body, reversing early stages of decomposition, and restoring life all at the same time was a significant act for even the most practiced of magic users. I was doing it for millions of Seven's victims. Emerald magic ebbed from me as I focused on the monumental task of saving as many of those people as I could. I felt the reconnection to life stitching its way through the victims at my location, in the area I have blocked off with magma, and among those in the south. Your Grace! I heard Jaime's voice call out over the howling torrent of magic. What's going on? What can we do to help you? Nothing, I shouted in response. Just let me work my magic. I'll save as many of them as I can. I'm going to do my best to bring all I can back to life. The effort of wielding so much magic outside of the Fade, outside of a genuinely magical realm, made for a titanic effort. I could feel my body faltering, my knees shaking, and my legs threatening to give way. The manipulation of so much energy doing so many different things for millions of individual targets, needing varying levels of care and attention, threatened to overwhelm my ability to focus. My vision blurred and my consciousness threatened to give way until a hand came to rest on my shoulder. My heart leapt when I turned to see Alan giving me that annoying, self-confident grin at me. Thanks for prioritizing me. Now let me help. I could have kissed him right then and there. While he wasn't as powerful of a mage as I was, he was skillful and cunning. He was right when I said I had prioritized him. I had been selfish and ensured that if no one else was able to come back, he would be. But my selfishness was paying off for once. While I was working on the macro scale of returning the dead's victims to life, he focused on the micro scale. He focused his considerable powers on individuals, taking the magic I was using on them and ensuring they were applied more efficiently. The process was going faster now, and the effort was spread between the two of us, just enough that I was no longer struggling. Minutes went by as many of the dead that had been surrounded had regained their lives. By the time I was finished, my body and mind were exhausted. Alan caught me as I slumped to the ground. "Whoa there," he said softly as held me up. "I've got you." "Did we do it?" I panted as I looked around. Around us, everyone was on their knees, hands clasped in prayer as they watched us. There were more living now than when the battle had ended. I could sense them moving in the other areas as well. I smiled weakly as Alan assured me we had been successful. I think I need to lay down," I said weakly as my consciousness began to slip away from exhaustion. "Make sure. The survivors." I never got to finish my sentence and simply blacked out.